Think about the last time someone went quiet on you. Not because they were busy, not because their phone died, but because they made a decision, somewhere in their mind, to stop responding to you on purpose. Maybe it was a text that sat there for 3 days. Maybe it was a friend who suddenly had a lot going on every time you reached out. Maybe it was someone you loved, who just stopped. And what did you do? If you're being honest with yourself, you probably did what almost everyone does. You checked your phone more often than usual. You reread the last message you sent, wondering if you said something wrong. You thought about sending a follow-up, just to check in. Maybe you actually sent it. That reaction feels natural. It feels like concern, like care, like simply wanting clarity. But here's what most people never realize. The moment you chase someone who is deliberately ignoring you, you hand them something extremely valuable. You hand them power over your emotional state. Think about what silence actually does psychologically. When someone withdraws attention from you suddenly, your brain treats it almost like a threat. Humans are wired for social connection, and an unexpected loss of connection triggers something close to alarm. This is why ignoring someone can feel more painful than an argument. An argument is still engagement. Silence is the absence of it, and your mind rushes to fill that empty space with questions. What did I do wrong? Are they mad at me? Should I explain myself again? This is where almost everyone makes a mistake. They try to resolve that uncomfortable feeling by reaching out again and again. Without realizing it, they are teaching the other person something important. They are teaching them that ignoring works, that withdrawal gets a reaction. That silence is a lever they can pull whenever they want influence over you. It gets even more interesting when you understand this through the lens of psychological reactance. Reactance is what happens when people feel their freedom or control is being threatened, and they push back to reclaim it. Some people, consciously or not, use silence specifically because they know it creates reactance in you. They know you'll feel the pull to chase, to explain, to fix things. And every time you do, it confirms to them that they still hold the emotional upper hand. This is not always calculated manipulation. Sometimes it's simpler than that. Sometimes people withdraw because they enjoy the subtle sense of control it gives them, even if they'd never admit it. Psychologists sometimes describe this as a status dynamic. Whoever seems to need the relationship less, in that moment, holds more social power. And chasing someone, no matter how gently you do it, signals need. So what actually works instead? Not coldness, not games. Something far more effective, built on 3 behaviors. The first is emotional regulation before reaction. Before you send anything, pause. Ask yourself if you are reaching out because you genuinely have something to say, or because you're trying to soothe your own anxiety about the silence. This distinction matters more than people think. Reaching out from anxiety almost always reads as chasing, even if your words sound calm. Reaching out from calm confidence reads completely differently because your nervous system isn't leaking urgency into every sentence. The second behavior is allowing natural consequences to exist. When you stop filling every silence with a message, something important happens. The other person has to sit with the space they created. Many people who withdraw are actually testing to see whether you'll rescue them from the discomfort of their own choice. If you stop doing that, they either come back because they genuinely value the connection, or you learn something true about where you actually stand. Both outcomes give you real information. Chasing gives you neither because it interrupts the natural cycle before it can complete itself. The third behavior is redirecting your attention inward instead of outward. This is where self-respect actually gets built. Not through affirmations, but through action. When you use that mental energy you would have spent refreshing your messages and instead put it into your own goals, your own standards, your own life, you send a signal, not to them, but to yourself. The signal is this: my peace does not depend on someone else's willingness to respond to me. That single shift changes how you show up in every relationship going forward, because people can sense, almost instinctively, whether someone's sense of worth is anchored internally or externally. This is partly why confidence feels magnetic. It's not arrogance, it's the simple absence of desperation. Now here's the part nobody expects. When you stop chasing, you're not doing it to manipulate the other person into missing you. That would just be another form of control, and it usually backfires because people can feel performative distance the same way they feel genuine indifference. The real shift has to happen internally first. You're not withdrawing as a strategy. You're withdrawing because you've genuinely stopped needing their response to feel okay. And that's when something shifts in the dynamic, almost every time. The person doing the ignoring loses the reaction they were, consciously or not, expecting. Without that reaction, the silence stops serving its purpose. Some people come back, some don't. But you're no longer the one whose mood, whose day, whose self-worth is being decided by someone else's phone activity. This isn't really about winning some invisible power struggle. It's about recognizing that every time you chase clarity from someone who isn't offering it, you're outsourcing your emotional stability to a person who has already shown you, through their actions, that they aren't prioritizing yours. True power is rarely about controlling other people. It's about controlling yourself. If this shifted the way you think about silence, attention, and self-rest, subscribe. There's a lot more hidden psychology worth understanding about how people really think, why they act the way they do, and how to navigate it without losing yourself in the process.